Hello, welcome to another Becoming a Modern Man. We are playing Mono Green Tron, and this time we're playing against Green Black Value, I suppose is the best name for it. It's essentially similar to the Selesnya Value deck that I was playing a few articles back. I believe Todd Anderson is also involved in the creation of this deck. It's a Heartless summoning deck, I suppose, at heart. And then runs cards like Oracle of Muldiah and similar cards that let you play cards off the top of your library. And also has the sort of Tireless Tracker, Ramanap Excavator, Ghost Quarter sort of thing going on. And also has the Gitrog monster in it as well. So lots of like cool cards, and it's quite an interesting deck. And this was a pretty fun matchup, all in all. So I thought it was worth sharing with you guys. This is our opening hand, and it's not very good. 2 Tron pieces, a Ghost Quarter, 2 Oblivion Suns, Khan and Dismember. No way to find Tron pieces, no cantrips or anything. So I'm gonna mulligan this away. This is a fairly decent improvement. We've got Sylvan Scrying here, 2 Chromatics, and the Wormcoil Engine, and 1 Tron piece. So I'm relatively happy with this. Hopefully we'll be able to find our second Tron piece fairly swiftly, and then Sylvan Scrying can find the third. See Chromatic Star on top off of the Scry. I think we're just going to bottom that. As I say, the most important thing really that we're looking to do is find the second Tron piece. So I think we don't necessarily need that or want that at the moment, particularly when we've got 2 Chromatics in hand. Our opponent's going to Inquisition us and take our Sylvan Scrying, which is obviously a little bit annoying. We draw into Forest, which isn't great. Run out Chromatic Star. Opponent has a Heartless Summoning, which is bad news for us. Run to Wormcoil Engine, which obviously isn't very good either. Find a Walking Ballista, which is at least playable, but also not great. One drops Ghost Quarter, which is again bad news for us. Plays Oracle of Muldiah, is able to hit a land off the top, which then allows him to play Vizier of the Menagerie. So he can play creatures or lands off the top of his library at this point in time. Ghost Quarter is obviously going to make it very difficult for us to get Tron together as well. Not that we're doing a great job at the moment. We crack the Chromatic Sphere, find an Urza's Tower, and we're going to be able to play Walking Ballista here for X equals 1. Could kill the Oracle of Muldiah, but whether there isn't a land on top of his library, I don't think it's really worth it. And plays Gitrog monster. Ghost Quarter takes out the Urza's Tower. And I think our opponent draws a land off of, draws a card thanks to the monster. Oop. Sorry, I skipped through the replay there. Let me go back. Okay, sorry about that. So let's go back. So yeah, opponent plays Gitrog monster. Ghost Quarters our land, which allows him to draw a card. Obviously leaves us with another Forest. One of the advantages of Mono Green Tron over the various other colour variants is that we run a lot of basic lands, so it's a lot harder for them to just do us over in terms of repeatedly Ghost Quartering us, because we do have a lot of basics in the deck, or certainly more than your average Tron deck might have. We found an Expedition map here, but it's not terribly useful. I think I missed playing this Forest. I'm not really sure how. I guess an accidental F6. It's not hugely relevant though, because at this point we are pretty much dead. Controls a Tireless Tracker. Attacks us for 7. Puts us down to 10. And yeah, things are not really going our way. even if we played our land, I don't think we'd have enough. I think the replay's slightly bugged here, but it might catch up. If not, basically our opponent attacks us for 7. I think the following turn they abrupt decay the Heartless Summoning in response to the sack from the Gitrog monster, and then obviously that makes their creatures large enough to finish us off. So yeah, didn't go particularly well that game. Inquisition taking our Sylvan Scrying certainly hurt, and then the Ghost Quarter thereafter made getting Tron pretty difficult, and ultimately we just didn't get online fast enough. So let's go on to sideboarding. Okay, so here we are with the sideboards. So in terms of cards we want, Nature's Claim, Heartless Summoning is like a big engine for their deck. So I certainly think we want some number of Nature's Claims in. I guess that's the only card really to hit out from their deck. So I suppose there is a slight disadvantage in that sense, but I think it's a real powerful card for them, so I think we probably want to bring in the Nature's Claims to try and deal with that. In terms of other cards in the sideboard, Thragtusk is okay, but I don't know if we necessarily want that kind of card. I mean, I suppose there is a good chance that they're going to sort of Ghost Quarter us and generally mess around with our lands, so I suppose there probably is a good idea to sort of reduce the cost of some of our cards and maybe bring in cards like Thragtusk and Thought-Knot Seer as ways of coping with that situation. So yeah, I suppose we probably do want Thragtusks, and we probably do want Thought-Knot Seers, just as sort of cheaper threats that we don't need Tron for, because there's a pretty good chance that they're going to be able to disrupt us with their sort of Ghost Quarters and Excavators and what have you. In terms of other cards, no, I suppose there's not a whole lot. Relic is okay, I guess, because they've got things like Excavator where they're trying to recur things out of the graveyard, but it's not a big part of their game plan, so I don't think it's necessarily worth overly concerning ourselves with. Otherwise, no, I guess that's kind of about it, really. There's not a whole lot to change, but yeah, I think we probably want to bring in the cheaper threats like the Thragtusks and the Thought-Knot Seers, and also the Nature's Claims to deal with Heartless Summoning, and probably take out the higher end threats. Ugin's probably not his best. Ulamog, we can possibly cut one. Emrakul, again, possibly not his best. Willbreaker seems good. It's can answer a Heartless Summoning as well, so that's more removal options for us. Wormcoil seems pretty decent as well, as one of our sort of cheaper big threats. Ostun will be useful. Dismember will be useful. So yeah, we're probably just cutting out the sort of top end creatures and bringing in some cheaper stuff in case our opponent is able to sort of prevent us from getting Tron and proving a problem for us. Okay, so here we are with game 2. This is our opening hand. It's not great. I mean, I suppose we've got the ability to draw a lot of cards, but there's no Tron pieces, so I think this is a mulligan. This is quite a bit better. I mean, obviously we need to find a way to cast the Sylvan Scrying in theory. But obviously we've got 2 Tron pieces, a bunch of Urza's Towers, and that kind of works quite well. Scry finds Wormcoil Engine, which we're just going to bottom. Obviously we are looking to try and find a Chromatic Sphere or something of the like. We draw into Urza's Mine, so we have 2 of each of these Tron pieces, which is actually fairly useful. Our opponent takes our Sylvan Scrying, which is somewhat annoying. Just going to run out Urza's Towers, so we're going to have a ton of mana once we get Tron online, or if we get Tron online. Opponent plays Tireless Tracker, we draw Ulamog, which will be very nice once we get Tron online. But at the minute there isn't a lot we can do, but fortunately our opponent isn't really speeding out of the gates either. Excavator comes down, opponent plays a Fetch, cracks it to make 2 clues, attacks us for 3 with Tireless Tracker. We found the power plant, so now we can cast Ulamog. Decided to exile Tireless Tracker in one of his lands. I think in looking back on it, we probably should have just killed the Excavator. It probably was the better play. Because ultimately killing one of his lands isn't all that good. Alternatively, we could have got rid of one of these clues, I suppose. But yeah, I think we probably should have just got rid of the Excavator. Because it's more of a problem for us. Plays Wayward Sawtooth. And then he's going to be able to fetch twice here. So that's kind of the nuisance level of Excavator. Which is probably why we should have just got rid of it. And obviously he's replaced his lands now, so that wasn't very impactful. So opponent hasn't got the City's Blessing just yet, but it's pretty close. He's got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so just one more permanent to get the City's Blessing. And then he can attack with this Wayward Sawtooth, but I mean Ulamog is certainly putting on the pressure, and we just draw it into a Wormcoil Engine. Actually, we have like a ridiculous amount of mana at this point, so we can actually Wormcoil Engine and cast a Khan. I'm just going to get rid of the Excavator like we talked about. So yeah, our opponent then concedes. Right, he's pretty much on the wall. Another attack from Ulamog is going to put him down to 3 cards in library. We have a Wormcoil Engine, and it seems very unlikely that our opponents will be able to come back here. We also have an active Khan, so yeah, this all went pretty well for us. Our opponent just had a very slow hand, and we just eventually put together like a huge Tron, and yeah, that was pretty much that. Okay, so here we have the decider, game 3. So this is our opening hand. I end up keeping this, but I think it's a very bad idea in hindsight. 3 Ezra's Mines isn't particularly useful, and we can draw a couple of cards, but we don't have anything else going on in this hand, so yeah, I think this should have been a mulligan, but I ended up keeping it foolishly. Plays Inquisition and takes one of our chromatics, which is kind of annoying. We draw Khan, which isn't particularly useful at this current moment. Sylvan Scrying manages, Sphere manages to find us a Sylvan Scrying, which is useful, so I'm going to use that here and find Urza's Tower. I mean, it could have easily been Urza's Power Plant, but not hugely relevant. Opponent has a Excavator. We draw into the 4th Urza's Mine, which is somewhat annoying, but there we go. Chromatic Sphere finds us another Chromatic Star. Let me just pass the turn here. That's Ghost Quarter, which kills off the tower, and we get the forest in return. And we get attacked for 2 by this Excavator. Drawn to Dismember, so we can deal with the Excavator here if we so wish. And we draw an Expedition map, which is nice. One plays Wayward Sawtooth, which is fine. It seems really slow. I don't know. I haven't played the deck, but I don't know if you just want to play Azusa. I know Azusa doesn't work as well with Heartless Summoning, but it seems like the more powerful card, and this is just quite slow. I mean, eventually you do get City's Blessing, and then you've got a 5/5 or a 4/4 with Heartless Summoning in play, but it just doesn't seem all that great. So yeah, I mean, I draw this Dismember. I could kill this Wayward Sawtooth, or Sword Tooth, sorry, but I just don't think it's necessary, quite honestly. Our opponent didn't play any additional lands after he cast the Sword Tooth, so it seems that he doesn't have any additional lands in hand to play, so it's just not all that relevant at the moment, the additional land plays, so I'm fine with him having this for now. It might become a problem later, but at the moment we're fairly happy for him to just keep that sitting around. Which turns out to be a pretty good choice, as our opponent plays a Tireless Tracker, which is a substantially bigger threat. We're not clicking our expedition map at the moment because I'm hoping to find another Tron piece, and then I can search out the one I definitely need. We're going to dismember the tireless tracker to avoid our opponent making a load of clues. Nobly, we're on 6 lands at this point, so potentially we can just hard cast a Khan next turn. Unfortunately, our opponent has an acidic slime. Fortunately, obviously we don't have any other Tron pieces, so it's not as bad as it could have been, but it does mean that we're not going to be able to cast Khan here unless something particularly good happens. Actually, I mean, there isn't really any way we can get cast Khan because there's no way we're going to put Tron together this turn. So we draw another expedition map, so that means we are going to be able to find Tron now. So we're going to crack the expedition map here and drop Urza's Tower into play and play the second expedition map and pass the turn. So as long as our opponent can't blow up this Urza's Tower or deal with it in some way, then we will have Tron next turn, which will be nice. And we can use this Khan. So here, I think our opponent has Obnixilis, which is kind of one of the cooler aspects of this this combo. So Obnixilis the Fallen is a card that doesn't really see play in Modern for kind of obvious reasons, but it is pretty powerful in this deck. Landfall causes an opponent to lose 3 life, and then you put 3+1/+1 counters on Obnixilis. So our opponent has a fetch land to follow that up as well. So I'm going to lose 6 life here, and he's going to have a 9/9. See, fortunately we have an answer for that waiting in the wings in the shape of Khan. So Khan's going to have to kill off the Obnixilis. We're still in a tricky position. Obviously, we're on 4 life. Our opponent still has an acidic slime that he can attack with. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 permanents. So if he can put 2 permanents onto the battlefield, his sword tooth then becomes active and can just kill us. But it doesn't look like he's got that just at this moment in time. So I'm going to go... Oh, he chooses to attack the Khan rather than attacking me. So I'm still on 4, which is useful. And we're just going to be able to tick up Khan next turn. We'll play Gitrog Monster, which obviously potentially could have killed us. Fortunately, we draw into a creature, so we do have the ability to chump block next turn rather than just die. So that was a fairly crucial draw step. We tick up Khan. We've exiled a second Gitrog Monster. So we're going to play Thought Not Seer here. And then we're going to have to hope that our opponent doesn't have a removal spell for Thought Not Seer, as we're going to have to chump block the Gitrog Monster, which is going to allow our opponent to draw another card. Opponent gets a Heartless Summoning into play, and now he has a City Blessing, so Wayward Sawtooth is capable of attacking. Fortunately, we draw into Walking Ballista, which is incredibly good here. So we're going to have a silly amount of mana. I choose to use Khan to exile the Gitrog Monster. So there's no more card draw coming out of that end of things. And I think we're able to make a 9. Yeah, we're able to make X equals 9 Walking Ballista. So we do that. We ping the Acidic Slime. It's not strictly necessary, but I do it anyway. Just in case he has some way of, I don't know, bouncing it back to hand or something, which would obviously be kind of problematic. So kill that off, and yeah, our opponent concedes from there. Kind of an unlucky break for our opponent, lucky break for us that we drew kind of just the cards we needed. Our opponent really can't do anything in this spot, because basically he's going to have to chump block next turn, and even after that, or we can, or alternatively, we can just kill the Wayward Sawtooth by pinging it to death, and then smack in as hard as we can. So yeah, our opponent's not in a good position. And yeah, Walking Blister was pretty much the perfect card there with all that ridiculous amount of mana that we have. So yeah, I've got pretty lucky in that match. Managed to just snatch it thanks to a couple of good draws that were just right on time. So yeah, this was kind of a close one. I mean, I don't really know what to make of this deck. It's kind of interesting. I can see the sort of the good points, but it's kind of reliant on Heartless Summoning. There's some cards that don't do a whole lot, like Wayward Swordtooth, rather, that is okay at best. It doesn't seem all that great. So yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. It's kind of annoying for us, obviously, if they get Excavator and Ghost Quarter online, and just repeatedly Ghost Quarter us, then it's going to be very difficult for us to win that kind of matchup. And obviously their deck can be quite speedy if it gets an early Heartless Summoning online. But I don't know. I think this is a match that we could win fairly easily. But yeah, I think really the combo you need to look out for is Ghost Quarter and Ramanap Excavator, but they don't have any ways of searching up lands in their deck, as far as I can see, or as far as I have seen. So that's certainly an advantage for us, and it doesn't look like they have Field of Runes either. So yeah, it seems possible. They certainly have some disruption for us, but it certainly seems possible that we can just do as we did in the last 2 games, really, which is get our Tron online, make a ton of mana, and then just overwhelm them. So not sure if it's necessarily a favourable matchup, but it certainly seems reasonable.